Hey everyone, Andrew here, Melbourne Superman, and I wanted to come on and talk a little bit more about the fastest mile that I've ever run. So, I basically left this at the last time we were speaking about how I ran this mile, what exactly I had done, and the stuff that I didn't necessarily purposely train to hit my fastest mile. So it was all kind of done by accident. I mean, like I said in the last video, I tried to do it, absolutely, but I didn't specifically train for it. And so what I said in the last video, go back and watch it if you want, but basically a summary of it. I did a lot of other work. I did a lot of systemic work. I did a lot of cross training for the DECA. I did a lot of trail running. I did a lot of pushing myself past a boundary that I wasn't normally used to pushing past. So what I want to talk about today is the other stuff. So what I touched on last time was it takes grit, it takes hard work, it takes pushing past those moments where all you want to do is give up. And that's half of it, right? So the other half is knowing when it's time to sort of ease back, okay? So I had never been a fast runner. I'm certainly not the fastest runner in the world now, but I am at a point where I can keep up with top age group athletes, right? In certain events, not all of them. Road races, Spartan events, top 5, top 10, a lot of times. So that has been that's a big jump, right? So I've come a long way in the last 5 years. And this kind of goes along with my other video as well that I just put out, why you aren't seeing progress. So I've been very consistent with my running in the last 5 years, but it's more than that. It's because I've started to listen, not only to my body, but to the metrics, to the things that make sense. So in this specific case, what I'm talking about is, sorry about the weird light. I could close the curtain, but it's such a nice day out, so I'm not going to. I'm talking about slowing down. I'm talking about training different systems that give your body everything that it needs. So I was never a fast runner. The reason was I was trying to run fast too often, too many times, burning myself out, not giving myself the proper recovery. And sure, I was making those beginner gains, but then I plateaued like a lot. So just to give you an idea of what my running schedule is, 80-20. What does that mean? 80% of the time, I'm working very easy, slow recovery pace. Slow is, of course, subjective. Slow for me is not slow for you, is not slow for the other person, is not slow for the top athlete. My slow is someone else's fast. My fast is someone else's slow. So 80% of the time, I'm running for me, slow. And now I will put the caveat on that by saying it's not just slow in terms of pace, whilst that matters, but it's more important about what your heart rate is doing on these slow, easy recovery runs. So 80% of the time I'm running at a recovery heart rate. For me, anywhere from 135 to 140. Now that includes easy runs specifically, but it also includes warm-ups and cool downs. And then the other 20% of the time, I'm running hard quality efforts. Now, there's a lot of easy stuff on my long runs. There's a lot of easy stuff warming up and cooling down. The hard stuff are the interval work, the threshold work, the speed work. Again, speed work is subjective. For me, I define anything as speed work as faster than 5K pace all the way down to mile pace or above. Anything if you're doing intervals at above 5K pace, it's kind of speed work, sort of, kind of, but you should be doing it longer than 3, 4, 5 minutes, which is turning it more into sort of threshold work to work your different system. So what my week looks like: Monday, generally 8 miles, about 13 kilometers, easy recovery. For me right now, that is about a 9:45 to 10-minute pace. Now, that for me is a big improvement. 2 years ago, that was a 10:45 to 11-minute pace. Now, over 2 years it's taken to put enough money in the bank. Now, actually, maybe this is closer to 3 years. Doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're running as much as one is, you want to see metrics improve a little bit faster. So again, goes back to the last video. Why aren't you seeing progress? Because you're not taking the time. It took me 3 years to shave off that time for just a recovery run, right? And I was always wondering about it, like, talk to my coach, Kirk, my recovery pace it's just not getting faster. And he said, well, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It's fine. You're working really hard in your other stuff. You're getting ready for other stuff. And so that if it's getting slower, even sometimes your recovery pace, it just means that you're working harder elsewhere. But I knew that something was ready to give. So that's been really helpful. So that's Monday. Tuesday is generally a quality day. Now, Tuesday sort of goes back and forth between either just speed workout or intervals, some kind of interval session, say, 400-meter repeats. This is, of course, with a 15-minute warm-up and cool-down jog. 400-meter repeats could be like something fancier, like do 6 400-meter repeats and then do a 6-mile tempo and then do another 6 400-meter repeats. Now, tempo, again, subjective. Tempo does not mean threshold. Threshold is a tempo, but not all tempo is a threshold pace. I'm not going to get into that, but basically tempo is just a prescribed pace that you give. For me, sometimes that might be 30 seconds faster than 10K pace, or a great workout, basically like a float recovery. So you do a mile at 30 seconds slower than 5K pace, followed by a mile about 30 seconds slower than that. So it's not a true recovery pace. It's still a hard pace, but it's giving you enough that you can keep going. So Tuesday's chock full of intervals, speed, threshold, buy-in, cash outs kind of thing. Wednesday, I generally don't do any kind of cardio. No running, no cardio. Thursday is generally 70 minutes could be either 70 minutes moderate effort on the roads, flat, or treadmill. By moderate, for me, that's about a 150 to 155 heart rate. Again, that's kind of in that gray area. There's not a lot of benefit there other than knowing what it's like to work in there. So if you're on the trails or if you're in a race and you're working in that effort, then you know what that's like. Your body knows what that's like. But it doesn't necessarily, of course, it pushes the needle. They're not junk miles, but it's not specific. It's not training a specific system. Not your lactate threshold, not your VO2 max, not your really anything, right? It's just a run. And that alternates between a 70-minute flat run to a 70-minute chasing vert, so chasing vertical. So that means I would just go to Flinders Peak and run up and down it for as many times as I can in 70 minutes, or I just set the treadmill at 15% and just go for 70 minutes at a moderate effort. Not walking, but moving. Friday is generally a cross-training day. So 45 minutes of cardio, easy, steady cardio of my choice. A lot of the times it turns into a mix between elliptical, walking, and bike. And then Saturday is generally my long run. Now the long run, lately I've been doing a lot of them on the trails. Like today I did 2 hours on the trails and it was just first hour nice and easy. Second hour, press it a little bit if you got it. And so I basically did an hour easy and then an hour of 3 minutes moderate, 3 minutes easy. So I didn't want to push myself too hard because I've got shows today. And this week I had to alter my schedule a little bit, but that's generally what it looks like. Sunday, nothing. Sunday's recovery. So the long runs on Saturday can either be like they are today or just steady or throw some speed sprinkles or spicy stuff in there. But all of these things, they all have like 15-minute warm up and cool downs minus the recovery efforts and the moderate efforts. So when I look at the recovery and the warm up and the cool down, those are where I slow down. Like I'm sure you have all heard it a lot of times that you need to slow down to get fast. And the reason is because you need to be able to keep your body moving. Those slow paces that will get your heart rate in that recovery effort will help by helping your body build the connective tissue that it needs to. It'll help prevent injury so you're not working hard all the time. And it will keep you ready and primed for your next day. So my recovery run on Monday can't be so hard that I don't have anything left in the bank for the Tuesday quality effort. My Thursday moderate effort can't be so hard that it's going to mess with me on Saturday. And my Friday easy, steady cardio, that's, really easy. I don't even think I generally get above a 130 heart rate there. But again, it's just all building this time, this putting money in the bank, this easy recovery system. This way you can have the energy, have the physical capability to run your fastest and hardest efforts. Because if you're pushing so hard all the time, you're never going to be able to unlock your potential on your hard efforts. And that's why back before I got smart about my running and hired a coach, which again, so worth it, I was running moderate to hard pretty much every run. Like there was a time when I was getting up every morning running 20 minutes hard, just hard. And there is a place for that. There's absolutely a place for that. Like sometimes a little bit of overstimulus, a little bit of crazy like that, just going every day, maybe really hard just for like a week or something, just to put your body into some kind of a weird, state. It's not really recommended. It can help. You've just got to be smart about it. A lot of recovery. But that was what I was doing. And then I wasn't getting any faster. I just wasn't. I really, really wasn't. The only time that I PB'd my 5K, it's 1952. That's the pace. That's just time, not the year. I'm not that old. And that was at a time where I was running easy a lot of the times, and I was just being smart about my intervals. So being able to slow down is such a big part of being able to run fast. And I will say this to you, you probably won't believe it. If you haven't tried it, you're just not going to believe it, but you've got to try it. An example. 2 years ago, I ran my fastest marathon, 3:39. For me, that was like an hour PB. That's about a 5:20 kilometer, about an 8:20 mile for 42 kilometers or 26 miles. 42.2, 26.2, don't at me. Most of my running, my easy runs, I was doing at a 10:30 pace at that point. And the only speed work that I was really doing was on my intervals, quality days on Tuesdays, or my long runs on Saturday, where we would just put some stuff in at half marathon pace or marathon pace. So 80% of my runs were 2 minutes slower, over 2 minutes slower than my marathon time. And I did it not injured. I got through it without injury. So there is something to be said. And look, there is a lot. I can't say that it's just slowing down. You do have to put the time in. You have to put the money in the bank. You have to build up that resistance to impact over time to do what it is that you want to do. Your heart rate, your lactate threshold, your VO2 max, all those things have to improve. They have to work together to improve. They will, but you've got to be smart about it. So if you're not able to commit your full energy to the VO2 max workouts or the lactate threshold workouts or the speed stuff because you haven't been taking it easy for the rest of the time, then you're never going to be able to unlock your potential. You'll never hit your ceiling. You might find your floor, which is fine, but you'll never hit your ceiling. So that's the second part of how I ran the fastest mile that I ever had, is I had really taken the time to slow down and really focus on my recovery heart rate rather than only worrying about the speed, and understanding that both of the things, speed and slowing down, do work together to give you the best possible result. It's not just the one thing. Like running slow, like running 13 kilometers or 8 miles every Monday, it's like the least sexy thing ever. It's just not sexy at all. It's boring. It takes me about just under, I don't know, hour and 15 to an hour and 20. That'd be about right. And it's not fun. It's like the strides are great because I'll do strides at the end of that, but it is boring, but it is worth it. Like I love so much more doing an interval workout and speed stuff because like it breaks it up. Like there's intervals, there's it's not boring. It's exciting. It's broken up between, different times. Like, all right, I'm run a mile as hard as I can and then take a 2-minute break, then run another mile as hard as I can, or run a mile as hard as I can and then run a mile recovery, or 2,400 meter repeats with like a minute rest. And it's like, it's something. But like the slow recovery runs, they're boring. They absolutely are. But if you can stick with them, and if you can try to not get ahead of the horse and really just sit back into it and allow your heart rate to sit where it needs to sit to recover and take the time, then you will improve. But you got to take the time. Again, it's all about putting in the time. It's all about putting in the effort. And that means the long workouts. You can do a recovery effort. It doesn't have to be 8 miles. That's just what we prescribe to me because I run a lot. And so we want to get as much bang for our buck as possible because, well, I only run 4 days a week. So we're getting the mileage in where we can get it in. So if you're running 5 or 6 days a week, maybe your recovery runs are 5 miles or 6 miles. But that's what my running week looks like. And that's what I think really helped me, the second part, that helped me run my fastest marathon. Mile. Well, both. I forgot what I was saying. In this case, I'm talking about the mile. So look, that is what I have to say about that. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, please comment below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell, ding, ding. If you are looking for coaching, PT, anything like that, please email me at melbournesuperman@gmail.com. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram at melbournesuperman. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.